to the completion of ongoing road projects and rehabilitation of feeder roads within Akure metropolis as rainy season returns. In a communique issued after its monthly Congress, Ondo NUJ were acknowledging the giant strides of the state government in roads construction, called on the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, to mobilize contractors to urgently attend to the deplorable Akure-Ado Ekiti Road. The NUJ meeting, presided over by the chairman, Leke Adegbite, charged Governors Kaude Fayemi and Oluwarotimi Akredolu, as well as the National Assembly members from the two states, to mount pressure on the federal government to fix the Akure-Ado Ekiti Road in the interest of the people who suffer on the highway daily. Felicitating workers on the occasion of this year's May Day celebration, the union urged government to give top priority to security of all and devise better economic strategies to enable various state governments pay their workers' salaries as at and when due. The communique also tasked security operatives to monitor increasing activities of scavengers at neighborhoods in Ondo State, especially in Akure, as they now constitute security threat to many residents. Nigerian universities have been shut 16 times in about 20 years over unresolved demands of Academic Staff Union of University, ASU. Topping lecturers' demands is a separate salary structure for dons and replacement of the Integrated Personnel Payroll Information System, IPIS, with the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, UTAS. The ASU strike had commenced since February with no end in sight. Against this backdrop, Osrc Current Affairs program, The Big Issue, will this evening between 5:30 and 7 engage the Vice Chancellor, Olusegun Agagu, University of Science and Technology, Okitiukpa, Professor Temiloluwa Ologunorisha, on the back and forth on the ASU strike. A lecturer at the Adekunle Ajasin University, Dr. Gbenga Bimbola, and a journalist, Tope Okeowo, will be panelists giving an insight into the issue. You can stream the program live on our website www.osrc.ng, on Facebook and YouTube at OSRC TV, Ondo. The bill for the 2022 estimate of Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, OSOPADEC, has scaled through the second reading at Ondo State House of Assembly. During plenary presided over by the Speaker, Mr. Bamidele Olayelogun, the House also directed the Committee on Ethics and Public Petition to commence work on land dispute between Lietu Community and Wesley University, Ondo. House of Assembly correspondent Omoshidola Adesoye Ajayi now reports.
Year 2020 estimates of Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, second reading.
The day's legislative business started with committing the OSOPADEC bill to House Committee on Finance and Appropriation and Committee on OSOPADEC for proper scrutiny after scanning through the second reading during plenary. The over 11 billion naira budget estimate was thoroughly debated by the legislators. Thereafter, the lawmakers representing Okitipupa Constituency 2, Ololade Gbegudu, moved for its adoption, and seconded by the lawmaker representing Akure South Constituency 2, Mr. Sunday Olajide.
That was sustained in the past, and we can be fair enough to give back to where this golden egg is being laid. In other places in Nigeria, for instance, Ayesa, Delta, we have seen places where they cannot have a good drinking water. Good places, Ilaje, we talk about Ayetoro and all that. We have seen caution coming to these communities. But of course, good resources are being taken away from these places. And Nigeria and Ondo State are getting money from these places. So it is on us to make sure these people live a good life. It's on us to be sure that these areas are well and adequately taken care of.
The essence of this particular bill forwarded to the House is to look at that figure that has been appropriated to that commission, the OSOPADEC, and see how this particular fund is being distributed to various cells so that the fund can be judiciously used for the good of the people in the mandate area.
The Chairman House Committee on Osopadek, Prince Abayomi Akinruton, affirmed that the year 2022 estimate, when passed into law, will go a long way to improve the living standard of the people of the coastal area.
The essence of this bill is to cushion the effects, perhaps the little the state government can do through the state budget. This bill will assist to be able to do more for the good of the mandate area.
The subjects upon the state oil processing area, Development Commission for the year ending 31st day of December 2022, the committed the House Committee on the Supervisor and House Committee on Finance and Appropriation. By support, say aye. Aye. Against
Out of the total estimate of 11,416,104,852 naira 88 kobo, 3,115,497,152 naira 30 kobo was budgeted for recurrent expenditure, while the remaining 8,300,600,700 naira 58 kobo is for capital expenditure. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi, Osrc News.
Attaining the age of 50 is a milestone in the history of a man's life which calls for celebration. But for Ondo State House of Assembly member representing Akoko Southwest Constituency 1, Olugbenga Omole, it is another opportunity to impact the lives of the less privileged in society. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi again reports that the lawmaker visited Ondo State Children's Home in Akure and Home for Vulnerable Women and Children at Okakoko to mark his golden jubilee. The report.
Born on April 30, 1972 in Okakoko, Ondo State, Olugbenga Omole is a legislator representing Akoko Southwest Constituency 1 at Ondo State House of Assembly, and as part of activities to mark his 50 years birthday was a visit to Ondo State Children's Home in Akure and the daughter of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, Okakoko, where he donated cash and gift items. At the Children's Home, the Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Mrs. Olubumi Oshadaun, who welcomed the lawmaker on behalf of the children, appreciated him for the gesture and called on other well-meaning individuals to emulate the altruistic act.
He has really exhibited that he has the love of these children at heart, because ordinarily he would have decided to do it in a hotel. But first call, doing it with this group of children, we appreciate him on behalf of the government of this state.
Also, at the daughter of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, Home of Vulnerable Women and Children in Okakoko, the legislator donated items ranging from food, toiletries, and cash gifts. The project manager of the home, Sister Chinyere Ogwanjama, expressed joy at the gesture, saying it will go a long way in improving the lives of the inmates.
We are overwhelmed by your choosing to come to celebrate with us. It shows your deep love, concern, and care of persons living at the periphery.
The donor, Mr. Olugbenga Omole, said the move was part of efforts to encourage children and aged, as well as to let them know what society has for them.
These are set of people that people look down on, people do not take into to be of any importance, but they are human. And these are people we should remember always, not just once in one-off thing like this.
While urging others to invest in humanitarian services, which according to him will reduce pains and crime in society, Omole promised to make the support a routine exercise. Shortly after that, a novelty match between Oka Youth Forum and Charity SC Ikomu was held to commemorate the Golden Jubilee. Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi, Osrc News.
Ondo State Commissioner for Environment, Sunday Akinwalere, says effective management of the environment is the responsibility of all tiers of government. Hence, the need for strong synergy between the ministry and the chairman of the 18 local government areas. Mr. Akinwalere, while addressing the council chairman in Akure, said both steps must be taken towards curbing environmental challenges facing the state. According to him, efforts are on to ensure environmental sustainability for environmental-friendly local government areas. He said the Ministry of Environment will also deploy environmental health officers and health assistants to ward levels for effective monitoring. Mr. Akinwalere explained that plans for protection of the environment by the ministry include the One House, One Tree initiative, proper solid waste management, and establishment of cemeteries by local government areas. Meanwhile, this month, sanitation exercise will hold across Ondo State tomorrow. A statement by the General Manager of Ondo State Waste Management Authority, Mrs. Ayo Adeyemo, said the exercise will hold between the hours of 7 and 10 in the morning. The statement said there shall be restriction of human and vehicular movement during the exercise. Mrs. Adeyemo urged residents to use the period to clean their surroundings, adding that anyone caught violating environmental sanitation laws would be arrested and charged to court appropriately. Ondo State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Dele Ologun, said his ministry will synergize with individuals, corporate organizations and communities to engender development. Mr. Ologun gave the assurance while playing host to the royal entourage of the Ogbolu of Ita Ogbolu, Oba Idowu Faborode, who came to identify with him at his office in Accra. The Ita Ogbolu-born politician promised not to disappoint the people of his community.
From Ita-Ogbolu in Akure North local government area of Ondo State, led by Oba Idowu Faborode, accompanied by chiefs and religious heads, was the guest of Ondo State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Bamidele Ologun. The group was in the state capital to identify with the commissioner who hails from Ita-Ogbolu, the Ogbolu of Ita-Ogbolu Oba Idowu Faborode, who commended Mr. Ologun for participating in politics with the interest of the town at heart and joined him to nurture other bright minds in the area. The monarch also sought the intervention of the commissioner in finding solutions to abandoned projects in the area.
Then we know your concern, like your guy always say. Out of nothing, to get something can come. Then my usual popular word, when you feed a man, the man will feed the environment. So our own duty as a matter of fact is to keep on, not just investing in prayer. Can I say? So the Lord will continue to increase you.
Other dignitaries on the entourage thanked Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu for picking a pride of the town into his cabinet. In his response, Mr. Bamidele Ologun expressed appreciation to the community for its love, assuring the inhabitants of quality representation. He said his ministry is open for collaboration with individuals, communities and organizations for development.
You've been there for us for long. But then when I came in 2016, we fell into policy. It loved me so much that everybody knew. So these experienced men are my backbone here. And I want to assure you that I will try all my best, to ensure that the Ita-Ogbolu people at least gain something from this administration.
A special prayer was said for the commissioner, who is among the 14 appointed by Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu last year.
The social and economic implication of land border closure is taking an integral point in a discussion of many Nigerians following the recent directive of the federal government for the reopening of 4 more border posts hitherto closed. The federal government had in 2019 ordered the total closure of the country's land borders as part of efforts to boost local production and curb smuggling of arms. Zaid Aribisala reports that while some Nigerians commended the move, others want government to place premium on securing the border posts with modern technology.
The Idiroko border post, a link between Ogun State, Nigeria and Benin Republic, is finally opened after over 2 years of closure. Also opened were 3 land border posts in Jibia, Katsina State, Ikom in Cross River State, and Kamba border post in Kebbi State, hitherto closed in 2019. The federal government had announced total closure of land borders, placing a ban on both legitimate and illegitimate movement of goods to stimulate local production and prevent the smuggling of illegal arms. While the Federal Executive Council had also in December 2020 reopened 4 major borders, the latest reopening of additional 4 has drawn reaction from Nigerians. While some commended government for the reopening, others said the closing in the first place was misplaced and did not achieve anything positive.
Already, the price of goods and commodities that are supposed to have been cushioning the effect of this hard economy in Nigeria has gone up. So if that's just bringing in rice into Lagos State now, it's like throwing a peanut for a hungry, a peanut of corns for a hungry fowls. So the inflationary trend has become too high. How are we going to measure it down? It doesn't have any change. It doesn't add any effect to our security. Instead, it was becoming alarming. We are all on social media. We saw what is happening.
Some, however, express the need for government to deploy technology in the monitoring of borders and professionalism from custom officials.
The government needs to do a lot of engineering in that area. Engineering in the sense that they need to use scientific method of monitoring border posts. Because the land border in Nigeria, we have the greatest border in the whole of Africa. From north to south, east to west. Everywhere is porous. Anybody can just come in and out easily. I think the government needs to be on top of their game.
In the food industry, we've had more people going into agriculture, especially in rice production, local rice processing, and marketing as such. So it encapsulates the entire food value chain, and other industries are springing up in other related commodities, which has forced us, made us to look inwards to see how we can generate and grow our own food rather than relying on imports.
At least to certain high percentage, the government had been able to achieve a great effort in making sure that food is available in the country.
There are over 15 land borders in Nigeria, and with the reopening of more borders, Nigerians are hopeful that the socio-economic implication will be in the country's favor in the face of geopolitical realities such as the Russia-Ukraine war. Sahid Aribisala, Osrc News.
Some political analysts and public affairs commentators have criticized state pardons granted to convicted former Plateau State Governor Joshua Darie and his Taraba counterpart Jolly Yame. Some of those who spoke with Osrc in Accra said the action should not have come from a government that claims to be fighting corruption, while some believe it is the president's prerogative to wield such power. Let's join Richard Ilesomi in this account of his engagement with them.
The granting of presidential pardons to former Plateau and Taraba State governors Joshua Darie and Jolly Yame came as a blow to Nigerians, especially at a time when corruption is widely cited as one of the banes of the country's development. After the Council of State meeting of April 14, 2022, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, announced that government approved pardon for 159 convicts, including the 2 former governors who were imprisoned for embezzling funds. While Darie was sentenced to 10 years in prison for embezzlement of 1.16 billion naira, Nyame was sentenced to 12 years for embezzling 1.6 billion naira during their tenures as governors of their state. Although the president acted in accordance with Section 175 of the Constitution, some Nigerians believe the action is an official endorsement of corruption in the country, as argued by 2 university dons, Dr. Adedayo Afe and Professor Bosui Meguse.
Some of them appealed, they lost their appeal. And the same government now that took them to court is saying that let us release them. So you are telling Transparent International that Nigeria is headquarters of corruption. That's what you are saying. The government is legitimizing it.
What President Muhammadu Buhari has done is to simply ambush the war against corruption. And if we were to be in a saner climb, I expect the leadership of the EFCC, for instance, to generally tender their resignation, because I don't know who advised President Muhammadu Buhari. For me, this is a very dangerous dimension, and I don't know what explanation this government will give to justify that decision.
However, a public affairs analyst, Rotimi Ogunleye, did not share this view, arguing that the president must have genuine cause to clear the 2 convicted officers of guilt under the terms of the law.
It could be that the facts that were not available by the time he was jailed could now be made available. That may result into we must right this wrong. We must not let this wrong to go into the grave with this man. So it could be because of so many reasons. But like I said, on the face value, it is something that must be condemned.
You are forgetting the fact that corruption is the reason why our educational system are not functioning. Corruption is the reason why there are no drugs in the hospital, why people are dying in droves. Corruption is the reason why there are no rules and people are dying. Corruption is part of the reason that led to insecurity. So it goes on and on and on like that.
A check on Section 175, subsection 1A of the 1999 Constitution shows that the president may grant any person concerned with or convicted of any offense created by an act of the National Assembly pardon, either free or subject to lawful conditions. But a human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, said this should be extended to other criminals serving prison sentences for petty crimes.
All criminals, all thieves, all petty thieves in our prisons should be released. All.
Although successive governments have granted it in the past, concerned Nigerians are advocating a constitutional revision to tinker with this Section 175 of the Constitution and impose strict conditions to merit a state pardon. Richard Ilesomi, OSRC News.
And now to sport. Young stars from Ondo State are in Ilorin, Kwara State for the 2022 X-Pro Squash Tournament organized for male and female under 13 and under 17. The competition is put together by a group of former national players in collaboration with Kwara State Sports Commission. Chairperson of Squash X-Pros players at home and abroad, Lawel Ojo, said the aim of the competition is to give back to the game. The Positive FM management staff member called on stakeholders to help inspire new talent for national development. And that's it on Sunshine Reports. Join us by 6 for the news update. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.